So welcome to today's webinar on enhancing teacher collaboration and planning in SEQTA using AI tools. My name is Kim Edwards. I'm an ex-deputy principal or ex-deputy head of school for our international audience of a large K-12 school, where we implemented SEQTA and set up the collaborative infrastructure to support our whole school planning process. I'm also a very experienced international baccalaureate lead educator, delivering a range of teacher and leadership workshops for the IB across the world, as well as being a visible learning consultant working with schools across Australia in the practical implementation of the visible learning research, drawing on my extensive experience as a classroom practitioner and a school leader. So in today's webinar, I'm going to start by setting the scene and context, and then I'm going to jump in to show you how you can use AI as a practical tool for using it for your teacher's assistant. So what is generative artificial intelligence? It was basically an umbrella term that refers to machine or a computer program that uses human-like thinking to complete a task. So it can produce text, images, music, audio, video, etc. And we know that AI is already transforming how we learn and teach. And for many school leaders, these new technologies seem too complex to really engage with. And quite frankly, at this time of the year, in the Southern Hemisphere, it's just another thing for school leaders to have to grapple with on top of everything else that they have to do. Now, we all know that teachers are time poor. The routine and administrative tasks can often take hours each day and week. And a common match from teachers is that they just don't have enough time. And in fact, there is not a workshop that I have run that I've not heard teachers raise that as an issue. Now, if you look at a recent OECD report, what they found was that teachers spend on average 7 hours a week planning lessons, often the morning before that lesson will be delivered. And I know I was certainly guilty of that at times. And I think this is a really interesting statistic. And I would argue, given my time both running a school and working in schools a lot, is that I actually think it's a lot higher than 7 hours a week, and an even bigger challenge for teachers today. Now, we know that lesson planning and its often forgotten bigger sister, unit planning, are some of the biggest time thieves for teachers. So not only is it robbing them of critical time in their day, it also risks creating lesson plans with limited alignment to the overall school curriculum direction or unit planning approach. So where can it help you? Now, a survey by the Association of Heads of Independent Schools of Australia, or HESA, showed that the greatest reported benefit of generative AI tools for educators was saving time. And on the screen there, you have a whole list of examples. Now, today I'm going to focus on the lesson and unit planning, because this is 30-minute, short and simple. Now, HESA argues that it's all about saving time, but I don't think it's just that. It is, but it's also about making it easier for your teachers to collaborate with other teachers and to build on this whole concept of collaborative advantage, which will ultimately help to improve student learning. Now, a quick word about security. What I'm going to show you today are the AI tools are not accessing your school data. They work alongside the teacher without the need for any complex technical integrations, with data going from the AI tool into SEQTA, not the other way around. So from a school leader's perspective, that's often one of the first questions that gets raised with us. So collaborative planning is a huge problem in schools. I think we've all been there where we've got to give them collaborative planning time. And what I know is no matter how much you give them, it will never be enough, because it's a massive job to plan all of this curriculum. Now, in March this year, the Grattan Institute put out this great report on how to implement a whole school curriculum planning approach, and they surveyed over 2,200 teachers and school leaders, and they found some really fascinating statistics here, that nearly half of the teachers in schools are planning on their own for their classes. 85% don't have access to a shared bank of high quality curriculum materials, and 55% are not satisfied with the curriculum planning in their school, which is really quite staggering. Now, this report, we've got the QR code for you at the end that you can scan and download it. It's a really easy read and has some fantastic case studies in there that you might want to also look at, but it's not a massive report that you have to put aside days to actually read. It's quick and simple. And what they identified was that teachers with access to a shared bank of high quality curriculum materials are much more likely to have a shared understanding with their colleagues of what constitutes effective teaching, particularly in their classroom or learning area. They also report consistent learning by students in different classrooms. And how many times I think about what I got, a parent rings up upset. My child is in class A for this subject, but she comes home and reports that all this additional stuff is being given in class B. Why isn't my child getting access to that? I think we've all had those ones. This alleviates problem. And what they found is that this can save 3 hours of planning a week for each class if this is developed. So I'm talking today about doing AI, using AI in conjunction with SEQTA's inbuilt collaborative teaching planning infrastructure, which can also help significantly reduce teacher planning time and actually improve consistency, quality, and visibility for school leaders. Remembering that nearly 50% of teachers are planning on their own in class. Now, if we look at ChatGPT, which most people have heard of, and we look at that in isolation, imagine they're all working in their silo, or let's say 6 teachers teaching the same course or preparing separately. What's going to happen then is the teachers can be creating more and more content using AI, so they can turbocharge the lesson creation, but you're also turbocharging the inconsistency that goes with that. And you're getting further away from that collaborative infrastructure, which can build that additional time saving. So I've worked in schools all over the world, and I've seen everything from absolutely no planning to really highly structured planning. So some teachers plan whole units, other plan lesson by lesson, or they plan a series of lessons. And what we've always recommended at Education Horizons is that schools consider creating some planning system, use the SEQTA system to help implement that. And this will facilitate that whole collaborative planning across teams, classrooms, and departments and help reduce workload. And one of the simple ways that many schools start, it's not the only way, is in this unit planner area. And I have to say, I was really interested when I read the Gradden report. And this is their whole school planning approach that they put in a nice, simple graphic. So they talk about, unit planning, collaboration, decide on what's being taught, and then let the teachers get on to think about how they're going to deliver this to meet the individual needs of students in their classroom. And so going back to the fact that SEQTA's underpinned by this robust collaborative infrastructure, which really facilitates them to be able to collectively design, plan, and deliver the program. So what does this actually mean in English? So let's say I'm a Year 5 classroom teacher and there are 4 other Year 5 classrooms. And let's say my 4 colleagues, one has a passion for maths, one has English or literacy, one has the humanities, HAS, science. Then you get those teachers to plan for the year. And all of the planning will then be available to their colleagues. So what you're basically doing in a primary setting is setting it up so one person plans and everyone else gets to share it. What do we see in secondary? And I know in my own experience, often we see, for example, they might say, right, you're the year 7 team leader for English. So you're planning for 12 months. Somebody will be 8, 9, 10. Alternatively, some departments might go, okay, you're the physics expert. You're writing the physics programs in each of the different years, but you don't do anything else. Chemistry does that, bio, human bio, and so on. And what it means is that one person creates, the others then get to share that incredible wisdom and then individualize to meet the needs of their students, saving massive amount of time. So what does the sharing concept actually mean? It allows one single program to be attached to multiple programs at the same time, because the students are all taking the same course or subject and they form a statistical cohort. So the teachers can set different homework, reorder lessons, they can create new lessons. So they get all of that. But this sharing concept then has this massive benefit in streamlining workflow and workload. So we'll come back to that. Let's go on to AI. So I'm looking at two big tools today, ChatGPT and Bing. We know there's a lot of other tools out there, but these also come with free components, which I think is really important for schools. Plus there's the paid side of it. So we're going to focus on these. So ChatGPT 3.5, it's free, available to anyone who signs up. It does not access the internet in real time. Now, it's been trained on text from the internet from before 2021. And it has what they call 175 billion parameters. Now, what does that mean? Parameters are the parts of the language model that define its skill on a problem, such as generating text. Now, ChatGPT 4 is that's a subscription, all right? It's trained on text from the internet up to March this year. But what it also gives you are these amazing plugins. So you can add the plugins that allow you to get instant access to the internet. So you can add those and a huge number of others. And I'm going to show you some of those today. And it was trained on, it's got 1 trillion parameters. So you can see it's a more powerful tool. The other one I want to talk about is Bing. Bing is Microsoft's AI tool. It accesses the web in real time, answer any of your questions on queries on any topic, image searches, news searches. It can chat and it can interact free. Now, most schools are carrying some form of Microsoft account. And if you've got a Microsoft account, well, you've got the paid version then of the AI tool for Bing. So you've got the integrated AI tool, you've got an image creation, I'm going to show you that, and you've also got the lovely shopping expedition of all the additional plugins that give you all this additional functionality. So that's what I'm focusing on today. So how can teachers use AI in their classroom? Well, let's start with unit planning, which is where Grattan started. So this is the SEQTA tool here. Now, the first thing I want to mention is I'm using Microsoft Edge web browser because that's going to give me access to Bing in my sidebar so that what I hate is going, flicking between all these different screens. First thing, I want everything in one screen. And that's why I'm using Edge because it's a Microsoft product. So the first thing I'm doing is I've created this Year 10 history unit and it's looking at World War II. So I've dropped in a couple of syllabus items and here is Bing. And it's asking me whether I want balanced, creative, precise responses. I've chosen balance. And I'm now asking it a prompt. I'm a Year 10 history teacher, World War II. I've included both of those syllabus statements and I've asked it to write me the learning intentions for this unit. So you can still see it pulls out the key words, and on the right now, it's like my little personal teaching assistant. Now, if you think about your staff, your very experienced teachers will already have all of this, but your younger staff, which are often brought to their knees with the workload of this planning, this is a massively useful tool. Now, the part that I love is like I can just copy that and I can paste it straight in. Now I can get rid of the, their gratuitous comments there. And at the moment, I'm not auditing this in terms of keep, change, delete. It remembers that we're in this conversation. So I don't have to tell it again, but now I'm asking it to write the success criteria for this unit at surface, deep, and transfer levels of learning using the solo verb. So I'm bringing in the visible learning. Now, I know running these workshops endlessly, this takes time in teams to do this. So it's giving me some great suggestions here. It's using those more challenging verbs. So I'm dealing with, the surface right through to being able to apply that knowledge. Now I'm copying it in, can take out that, etc. So the key thing from a leader's perspective is, how do you want your teachers to be planning? So as you're looking at this is just a template that I set up in 2 minutes. So getting a consistent planning process is what Grattan is talking about, and using some form of unit planning. Now I've asked it to list the essential questions that it thinks I should be asking in this pretend unit. And it's given me a whole lot here. Now, if I had my time again, I'd probably say, please ensure there are a number of why questions in there too. So your prompts are really important. And then I go on to ask it, well, okay, so now I want you, what are some learning experiences that I could do here? And this planning me the whole unit. Let's say this is a 6-week unit. So it's giving me the high level parameters that I need to be functioning in. And I think we all know as teachers, we often revert back to what we've already done. It's too hard to sometimes go and think up new ideas all the time. Now, there's a huge number of ideas here. Clearly, it needs a significant amount of vetting, but I'm going to take those here, and now I'm going to paste those in, etc. Now, I'm not going to go on and do the assessment side because we've got the 30 minutes. Now, we're really open to running other webinars on assessment, rubrics, a whole lot of other areas that sit within this AI area. So reach out to your CSM if you're interested in having us run those. Now, I put the same question into ChatGPT. So just a word, just something to think about. It's really worth thinking about here, going and having a look and doing your own due diligence here. But the only change I made in this was I asked it to write the learning intentions and success criteria in the very first question. And you can see up here on the screen that it's given similar but different responses. So something to consider moving forwards. But you've got from, the surface right through to those extension students covered here. So it's very much about making it easier for your staff. Now, lesson planning. So let's say we've done that. And let's say there were a team of us, we contributed and we were doing it. We had half an hour, we've created it. But now I'm in charge of producing this history unit. So I can come now and I need to create the lessons for all the people in my collaborative sharing group here. So I've copied one of the success criteria, and now I'm coming to the learning experiences and I'm pasting that straight in here. Now, clearly, I'm not a history teacher, and I may be able to take some of those suggestions and change them. But now what I've asked it to do is, can you recommend a primary source document on the rise of fascism in Europe that students can read that is available online? I don't have time to go and look for it, right? So it's given me a couple here. I would obviously check that and so on, and then I can paste that in. So you can see from starting from the whole and then drilling down lesson by lesson. The part I love is the links are there and they're already hyperlinked for me. And then I can input my own homework, etc. And then I can just fold it back. Now, what does that mean for the rest of the team? So here's my history unit, and I'm on the cover page, and I'm going to click on collaboration, and there are 7 classes sharing this one program. But I'm class 1, and I've been put in charge of creating this. The pathways is critical. That applies the timetable intelligence to every program. So it knows Monday, period 3 is Kim's class, colleague is Monday, period 5, Tuesday, period 1, etc. So we get that. So I can view the lesson. So I can say only the teachers will see that lesson, and I can create the equivalent online lesson. Now, I decided I was too lazy to write it, so I popped it in and I asked it to write me the student-friendly version. And how many times have we all spent creating this, rewording it in student speak? And it's done it beautifully for me here. It's kept the links intact. So once the teams decide whether they agree or disagree, then the building of this becomes much quicker and faster. Now I've come to 10 Humanities 3. So a colleague, nothing, this is being produced for them. They'll be off producing other year levels that I get access to, but they can put in their own homework. And then they can come in here and go, that's not going to work for my class. My class are way behind. They've had an excursion. I need to move this around, etc. So they get the ability then to individualize. So I call this whole concept friends with benefits. We've got the benefit of being in this close collaborative planning group, but I get the benefit of being an individual to meet the needs of my own individual class. And I've got AI sitting on the side to help me. So what this allows schools to do is it really brings transparency to that whole teaching and learning process, particularly from a school leader's perspective. You're getting much greater consistency in what's required, and the quality is there. So your curriculum coordinators in your primary, heads of learning or department, etc., can also be in there reviewing it. In addition, you get the ability to maximise the expertise and strengths of your teachers. Every teacher has strengths in areas, and you can use that in here and really build this whole concept of collaborative advantage and save teachers time. And the best part for the teachers is they get to be the individual and meet the needs of their students, being able to do all those individual things there and actually set their own assessment dates. So it doesn't have to be done with everyone else. So what do the students see? So I've just come into a child that is in this year 10 history class. They get exactly the same. Now, if I'd spent more time, I would have had additional resources, but I just want to show you the web links are working. Amazing. Not that I'm vetting where they're actually going here. I would have added additional resources, etc. And so you can see how quickly this can be done. So what are some other options that you have as a school here? So we've looked at unit planning and we've also looked at lesson planning. Here are some other options. So there's, with the paid Microsoft account, you get the Bing image creator. It's not in this side panel, so I'm just shutting it and I'm just clicking on being image creator. And you can see that I asked it to create me an image of an AI tool at work. And it did a pretty good job. But now I'm changing it. I'm asking it to create a World War II poster on fascism in Europe. So you can see it's starting to work away. You can also tell it its style, right? It's sketch, real life, you know. I'm not really artistic, but you've got a plethora of options here as to the style that it comes out in. And then you can go, actually, I really like that. You can share that with your colleagues for them to tell you what they think. You can download it and you can also customize it. But that's how quickly creating images, and you think about the amount of time teachers spend searching for appropriate images. The next one I want to mention is Chrome, and the Chrome extension CIDR that goes with ChatGPT. And you need to do your own due diligence here in terms of subscriptions and so on. So I'm in Chrome and I've added the extension because, as I said at the start of this, I want AI in the same screen. And now I'm changing what I'm going to ask it to do. So if we think about lesson plan, so let me just mention chat, write. You can see there's a huge number of options here. You can waste a lot of time in here. Ask, it's already put the parameters in here as to, you know, what it means to make it shorter. Then you pop you put your text in there. It can extract information and it can do your grammar, paint, etc. And you can drop in PDFs and it will analyze them. So you can see this is a pretty powerful one. Now I'm asking, it's showing you 3.5. You can access this. So you've got the tools here. I've got the 4, and now I'm going to ask it to create me an excellent and a bad example. So I'm doing more of a primary thing, and creating work examples, we know, particularly with learning intentions and success criteria, is really critical. And I've given it its criteria. It needs to be identified, keywords and phrases, sort the main ideas from the detail, transform it, etc., etc. So I've put my criteria in there. I've given it a topic. Now I want it to create me a good and a poor example rather than me having to try and write these. And so you can see it's given me a great, excellent example. And when I come down here, it's given me a poor example. But the best part, it also tells me why it's excellent, and it also tells me why it's poor example. And I can take that text, I could drop it into a Word document. I could obviously delete the reasons why and give that to students and get them to analyse it. Imagine the learning that would happen in terms of unpacking the understanding of those success criteria. Now, if I come into ChatGPT, all right, it's free. So here is 3.5 free. 4 you pay for plugins. This is a shopping expedition. So you can see I've added a whole lot here. Some of these give me instant access to the internet, but the plugin store, you can waste a lot of time in there. I certainly have. I'm showing you this one called Prompt Perfect, because using any AI tool, your prompts need to be pretty detailed and specific. And what Prompt Perfect does, when you start your prompt with perfect, it ignites the plugin and it takes your prompt and makes it better. And now you can see it's writing me something really and it goes on and on and on. So the top one is my prompt. The bottom one is its prompt. Thorough, well-organised, explanation encompassing contributions to the overall war effort, blah, blah, blah. So it makes it much better. Another example of a plugin is diagrams. How many times have we all sat there we need a diagram for this? And, go and find some worksheet, or we had to create it, we draw it up on the whiteboard. It can create it. Now, my prompt was pretty simple. Create a diagram on homeostasis. and you can then download it. You can edit the text, you can change it, you can do a lot. So the diagram plugin, there is also a Smart Slides plugin. So ChatGPT 4 is really powerful with these additional plugins. You can access that through the CIDR, but there is a subscription too. And these are the slides that it created. I really don't like the template, but from a teacher's perspective, creating PowerPoint presentations, you know, it can be hours of work for a 15-minute presentation, etc., that can then be shared across teachers. Now, I just want to come back and mention the Grattan Institute report. On the screen there is the QR code, and I strongly recommend that you download that and read it. Very easy read, fabulous suggestions, and they've researched all of this. So it's worth having that and using it perhaps and considering aspects of it in 2024. We also recommend that schools need to create a policy on the use of AI in their school. And there are lots of examples already out there. You can also ask AI to give you some suggestions. And I did that yesterday. It was amazing what they came up with, actually. But it's probably worth considering that if you haven't already got it. So I hope today's provided you with some ideas on how you can incorporate AI as a teaching assistant for your staff, at the same time as leveraging SEQTA's really brilliant collaborative infrastructure to save teachers time and really ultimately develop this whole school curriculum planning process. Now, if you would like to talk to any of our team moving forward, there's the QR code that you can scan to book a meeting. And as I said, reach out if you have other suggestions that you would like to see us present on in terms of using AI from a teacher's perspective and alternatively from a school leader's perspective. Thank you very much for attending today, and we wish you well for the end of term. Thank you.